was the main place that was target for the brute force of the anti-Hindu militant forces. As year after year, we did not see a stop to the different raids, the media investigations, the false media portrayals of the Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham. And even today, even while so much of good is going on, the lasting effects of the attacks against the Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham are still felt today. Even until today, until May 2021 this year, as many of you know, the Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham had received threats of bio-war and had literally gotten mysterious and extremely suspicious packages. All of these details are what the Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham administrators are going to be explaining to each and every one of us in detail on how this is going to be working, how this has worked, what they had plotted, what they had conspired to do, and on the other side, what the Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham is working to contribute to the world. To begin, I'd like to first give a brief introduction to the Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham, the Adhinam that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had revived. In fact, this great land is the abode of Nityanandeshwara Kalpa Vriksha, and the very biomemory of Paramashiva himself in the form of a vast, beautiful, peaceful banyan tree. Even Bhagavan Sri Krishna says that among all of the trees, he is the banyan tree, meaning that the banyan tree is worshipped as the most sacred in Sanatana Hindu Dharma. And not only that, the Kalpa Vriksha is referred to in many different scriptures, including the Kamikagama, in the Guru Gita, in the Puranas, as having come out of the churning of the Milky Ocean. In the great Puranas, there is an incident, a beautiful narration and happening, a cosmic happening that is known as the churning of the Milky Ocean, which is mapped to the creation of the entire Milky Way galaxy. And in this creation, in this happening, the Kalpa Vriksha, this divine tree, came out of the churning, came out of the ocean as the Devas and Asuras were churning the entire ocean. And you can easily find these references on YouTube and Google if you see about the churning of the Milky Ocean and the source of the Kalpa Vriksha tree. And in the Guru Gita, beautifully, it is described how under the temple of the banyan tree, the Kalpa Vriksha, Paramashiva and Parameshwari or Parashakti are sitting. And in that beautiful ambience, Paramashiva gives the secrets to Parashakti on the secrets to living and enlightenment. And not only that, in the Ramayana, it is told and narrated by the great sage Valmiki how Rama, the Lord Rama, the great king of Ayodhya and the incarnation of Mahavishnu, had come to this very land near Ramanagara, and they had all of the Sapta Rishis were there, and the Sapta Rishis, who are the great devotees of Lord Shiva, had invited Lord Rama to receive the darshan of Paramashiva. And in the presence of Paramashiva, Lord Rama received all the knowledge, the sacred knowledge of the Upanishad. Later on, after the entire exile and after the Pattabhishekam of Bhagavan Sri Rama, he returned to this very Kalpavriksha tree, and he dictated to Hanuman, his disciple Hanuman, about the Muktika Upanishad, which is today the 108 Upanishad of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Now, in this very land, the banyan tree that exists is the very reflection of that cosmic Kalpa Vriksha. And it is, as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has declared, and we worship it as the energy and embodiment of Paramashiva himself. Under this tree are the incarnations, the samadhis of incarnations, previous incarnations of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And this banyan tree, this great embodiment of Paramashiva, is the very tree where all the previous incarnations of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, including Bhagavan Sri Venkateshwara, Madurai Meenakshi, Devi Meenakshi, and the Ardhangani, the form of Paramashiva in both the male and female, all of them had come to this tree and interacted, played out their divine leelas in this very land. And in fact, this very land had a great temple, an ecosystem around the temple, but it was destroyed during the Mughal invasions. And it was on this very land that the future of Sanatana Hindu Dharma would be revived by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. In the year 2002, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had after searching for more than 1 year, the disciples of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had found this land and immediately rushed to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism that the land that he had a vision of was finally revealed. And in so many different ways, even the landowner had a dream that Paramashiva should tell, or had a dream of Paramashiva telling him that he should give this land to his own form, his own incarnation, who is in the form of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So the entire Leela played out, where finally on the 1st of January 2003, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had celebratorily inaugurated the Adi Kailasha Sarvagna Peetham. And in this very land, so many different services began to immediately start, whether it is Annadhan, the revival of the Hindu temples, the sacred arts university, the Nityananda Annalaya. Every single different department of Kailasa began in this very sacred space with the super conscious energy that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had consecrated in so many different forms in this land. So without further ado, I'd like to invite the administrators of the Adi Kailasha Sarvagna Peetham, Ma Nitya Achalananda Swami and Ma Nitya Prana Priyananda, to explain in detail about the history, the contributions of the Adi Kailasha Sarvagna Peetham in brief, and then please tell us about the subsequent attacks against the Adinam of Adi Kailasha Sarvagna Peetham. Now, we'll be continuing on with this segment of today's program of the persecution and attacks against the Adi Kailasha Sarvagna Peetham after a very quick break.
Paramashivoham
Nityananda. Welcome back to all of the viewers. Joining with me now is Ma Nitya Achalananda Swami to present the persecution against the Adi Kailasha Sarvagna Peetham today. Also here is Ma Nitya Pranapriyananda. Now, yes, thank you, Ma. We had just finished the presenting to each and everyone about the Kailasa COVID care centers that is ongoing right now. The most impactful solutions to the ongoing pandemic. And on contrast, today we are presenting what has happened against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Adi Kailasa Sarvagna Peetham. So I'd like to invite both of you respectfully to please narrate about how this started from 2010 and how Adi Kailasa Sarvagna Peetham, as the ship which the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had really worked for more than 2 decades to build up, how it remained as basically one of the places where the brute force was executed by the anti-Hindu militant forces.
Yes, actually, to kind of recap, the Adi Kailasa ship, as Bhagwan said and as Devi Parashakti revealed, was in construction literally to speak for more than a decade. Literally, as we know, the ship was planned for this oncoming pralaya. And had it not been for the really unfortunate event of the anti-Hindu militant terrorists literally driving away the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism into statelessness and exiling him into statelessness, we would really have had probably this pralaya not even being felt by humanity. Yes, whatever course of events or distant may have happened, but it probably would have been with as minimal impact as possible to humanity. And we all know, as Devi again and again is repeating with so much of care and concern, as what one would say, that even though captain is not there, the ship is there. And as Bhagwan also said, and as Devi said, if the Padayatra that was planned for 2020, all the way from Kanyakumari to the northern tip of Bharat and Kashmir, if that had happened, led by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, along with his 10,000 sannyasis, visiting all the pilgrimage places, the sacred places, and if that had happened, then whatever negative karma accumulated collectively by humanity, by the abuse we have all done to Bhuma Devi, to the planet Earth, would have been mitigated or washed away had the holy feet of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagat Guru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagwan Nityananda Paramashivam, been there on this space and place of Bharat. Surely the Kirmi Bhojanam, the Naraka, would not have been able to land on this planet. Because as the Shastra Pramanas also say, as long as enlightened beings, avatars, incarnations are alive and assume their body again and again on planet Earth, the planet Earth will be alive. And if that tradition, if that happening is broken, then planet Earth cannot survive. So it's a very simple logic, so to speak, in that. And all it needed was the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to be here on this, in this place of Bharat, and we would have been seeing a completely different face of the corona pandemic. And what really took, how this whole space of Adi Kailasa, the Adi Kailasa ship, the pristine beginnings from the ancient times, one should really have a glimpse of it to see what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has done to make this beautiful Adikailasa ship happen, right from the time of supervising down to the last detail. The divine deities, Nityanandeshwara, Nityanandeshwari, who occupy the Garbha Mandir in the Adi Kailasa Sarvadipita, to energizing to the Kodi Radayatra, which had a crore, that is 10 million eyes, having the darshan of the living Achavataras of Nityanandeshwara, Nityanandeshwari. All this, when one sees only, one can really understand the depth of the statement that Devi Parashakti revealed. That is, Adi Kailasa ship that I was working to make happen through her Nijavatara Nityananda, and how that Adi Kailasa ship has evolved, and what it took, literally his, for lack of better words, sweat and blood and energy and everything poured into this happening. Let us see just this visual representation of these humble beginnings of Adi Kailasa Sarvatipita.
Yes, Ma, and I also wanted to even mention how not only in the amount of sacred sciences that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism revived in this land through the consecration of the Garbha and the revival of the deity worship and the consecration of Nityanandeshwara, Nityanandeshwari, Vaidya Sarovar, and the making literally of the Navapashana 20-foot tall, 21-foot tall Navapashana Linga, as well as the consecration of Mahakala Bhairava at the front gate. Not only this, but also creating a hub where so many thousands of people every single year would be coming and having literally a super conscious breakthrough.
And as one saw, that was a very brief story in pictures, so to speak, of what the Adi Kailasa Sarvagnya Peetham, its inception, its formation, and all the way up till today, when the Adi Kailasa ship is serving as the savior for humanity, especially Indians, who have very much reason to be concerned about the oncoming third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm sure all of us, at least most of us, would have been witness to this happening way back in 2006 when this Kodikan Radayatra happened, and much before that, when the preparation for the same happened, as we all saw in the video, the murtis, the idols, the deities of Nityanandeshwara, Nityanandeshwari carved directly the first stone that had them embedded directly, the first cut done by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself. And how today the deities, Nityanandeshwara, Nityanandeshwari, the Kalpa Vriksha, the sacred banyan tree, and the 21 feet Navapashana Linga that is gracing the Vaidya Sarovar, and the rare combination of the 1008 Ayurvedic herbs and the Navapashana that went into the making, and how the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism actually did the whole guidance of the making of the Navapashana, right from the mixing to the manifestation in the form of the 21 feet Shivalinga. Everything prepared in preparation really for this COVID-19 pandemic that the whole world is facing today. And honestly, as we saw in the previous segments, has no clue how to handle, be it the governments or the non-profit sectors, social service organizations, humanitarian services, everybody at a loss to really see how to curtail and control this pandemic. And as Devi said, the only solution for that is the Adi Kailasa ship and the various de facto spiritual embassies of Kailasa across the world. Now, because of this promise, and amongst other things, the promise that Adi Kailasa held for the Adi Kailasa Sarvagnya Peetham held for the whole world in the form of either the grace of the temple, the Kalpa Vriksha, or the Gurukul, which is literally the incubator of special beings, as Bhagavan says, who right from their childhood are brought up directly in this divine presence, and hence power manifestation being a way of life for them, to the various ways in which Bhagavan has empowered, especially the women folk, the female bodies, whether in terms of administration or in temple services, giving them not just equality as a modern world would demand, but really their unique position. And as one saw in the report directly by the United Nations, where it is recognizing the first time an international body like the United Nations recognizing persecution has been done to Hindus and Hinduism. And finally, the world is coming to know of something called persecution done to Hinduism. So, Adi Kailasa Sarvagnya Peetham is actually one of the worst hit, I would say, in terms of this persecution, whether it was done on the women folk, or on the Gurukul children, or on the temple, or on the Vaidya Sarovar. This is all on top of the blatant assassination attempts that were done on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, like directly trying to burn him alive in his very own quarters in 2010 in the wake of the video that was spread virally about him, denigrating him, and using that as a justification to literally burn him alive and telecast that live on television. Something that anybody would just be shocked to hear about, that too happening in the so-called 21st century. But that's what Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham has been witness to. And really, this is, on one hand, a standing testimony to the will persistence of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in terms of giving to humanity the best that and the ultimate that he keeps giving. And also because of that inspiration derived by the followers, the sannyasis, the monks, the nuns of the sovereign order of Kailasa, also trying to embody in the same in whatever way they can.
Right. Yes, ma'am. And we have so much of the footage that was absolutely horrifying to see, even of the charcoal, literally what was left of the places of attack that the anti-Hindu militants had directed their attack, especially the very place where the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had his residence, as well as many of the surrounding huts and the surrounding places. Every place was absolutely destroyed. And I actually found it very shocking was when I was hearing about this, reading about what actually happened, that in the media, even up until 20 minutes before the actual attacks, and suddenly when we were witnessing the attacks, the media was already projecting that there was certain attacks going on in the Adinam, and we were receiving phone calls inside of the Adinam saying that, okay, what's going on? And many of us didn't know until 20 minutes later, or just a little bit later, we're seeing suddenly the whole Adinam is on fire, smoke is in the air, and we have absolutely, and being on the inside, we have absolutely no idea about it. But somehow in the media, they were already projecting, they were already showing that this was going on. This clearly shows that this was a planned attack, and the media mafia had such strong influence in how they were literally trying to show the entire thing and trying to execute their plans, essentially, in the attacks against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, in this direct assassination attempt against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. We were seeing how just this absolutely tragic and devastation that was ongoing on this ancient Hindu kingdom and the Adi Kailasa Sarvajna Peetham, where thousands of people have found peace and found so much of spiritual upliftment, was suddenly set on fire. And so many of the Adinavasis, everyone is running around helter-skelter, not understanding, not knowing what to do, essentially. And as you were sharing even a couple of days before, if you could also share about how at that time, what was the immediate response of the of everyone there, and how did we try to navigate in that situation as someone who was actually there during the attack?
Over the last decade, the Adi Kailasa Nityananda Sarvajna Peetham has been attacked by these anti-Hindu elements and anti-Guru Hindu media mafia and the neo-Hindutva elements in multiple ways. They have attacked these monastery complex because this is the source of the whole entire mission that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism took forward to the world, and so many services were all initiated from the Sarvajna Peetham. So they deployed various strategies, including lawfare that happened in 2010, massive character assassination that was done by the media mafia, and sexual assaults conducted on the female monks on various occasions, whether it is in 2020 or 2010 or 2012, in various other occasions. these anti-Hindu elements stormed into the campus, attacked the female monks, and assaulted them, making them feel weak, making them feel helpless and shrink. The whole idea that was deployed by these anti-Hindu elements is to marginalize and isolate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and therefore they can conduct or execute their assassination attempt. So that was a sinister plan, and that continued over the years, over the time frame of 10 years. This ongoing persecution happened. So whether it is in terms of lawfare or multiple false arrests, illegal arrests, whether it is assaulting the female monks, character assassination, in all ways, in all other ways, these anti-Hindu elements attacked and destroyed this Adi Kailasa Nityananda Sarvanya Peetham. And time and again, due to the persistent efforts of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, with his guidance, the community of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism came together and rebuilt time after time. And every time they rebuilt, these anti-Hindu elements came up with a new strategy, new lawfare, and new persecution attempt and tried to destroy it. That is what we've been observing for the last 10 years, over the 10 years. And even recently in 2021, now a few months before, a biohazard weapon, biowar weapon was deployed in this Adi Kailasa Nityananda Sarvanya Peetham for destroying the efforts, noble efforts of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in opening his Kailasas as the centers for COVID protection. So especially when India was struggling to meet the demands, whether it is infrastructure-wise or medical needs-wise, so many other ways people were struggling to ensure that they are safe with their family. So at that time, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has opened the doors of Kailasa for people to come and stay and feel safe. So when this noble effort was done by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the Kailasians, when number of people started approaching the Kailasa's COVID care protection centers, that is when the anti-Hindu elements deployed this biowar weapon on the Sarvanya Peetham to destroy these efforts. So this is a very recent news that we are sharing, but this has been the case in many occasions over the last 10 days.
Yes, ma'am. Continuously happening, whether it is in form of loot and anti-Hindu trying to sneak in and loot the various different resources, including the temple deities, and in the name of investigation, even coming inside and brutally assaulting the Adinavasis, making it unsafe, absolutely hostile place. And continuously after the initial attacks on the 2nd of March 2010, and then the most brutal attack on the 3rd of March 2010, then after that, and the subsequent days in the following month, as we saw, literally the entire campus was continuously being broadcasted in the media. Even people were trying to implant the various different things that they were trying to claim on us, like, for example, trying to implant even illicit drugs and different types of illegal activities, trying to and make it show as if we had things. Then blatantly media trying to show that all these, and lying that all this was going on, and there was so many crimes happening on the inside. In these different ways, Adi Kailasa Sarvanya Peetham, even in 2010, had so many false cases filed in the name of even illegal hoarding of sandalwood, illegal possession of tiger skin, and residence on a forest land. All of these were different ways that the media and the media mafia and the anti-Hindu militant forces had literally been attacking in very strategic ways, attacking directly at and ensuring that the exact Hindu practices were entirely twisted, and they were for those very reasons attacked and targeted. And even we have seen in the media how they tried to show as if the sacred ritual, the sacred intense tapas of Pancha tapas that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism started after 53 days in prison. After he started that in the media, how they ridiculed and spread so much of hate speech, spread so many lies about one simple penance that he was doing. And many people do not know that why he was doing this Panchatapas in Adi Kailash Sarvignapitam was in order to heal all of the victims of the anti-Hindu militant forces who had undergone so much of assault, rape, sexual abuse in different forms when the raids and attacks happened in 2010 in the Adinam. And however, on the outside, what they were showing is as if yet another criminal activity was going on. And they just spread these lies and hate speech in the media to continue trying their relentless persecution against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the revival of Sanatana Hindu Dharma that he was successfully up until that point doing. And all of these attacks had put so much of strain, entirely diverted the resources of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, of this grand revival, from spreading, enriching more and more people across the world into trying to constantly defend ourselves. Just like in the Somanath temple in hundreds of years ago, how 17 times Mughal invasions had destroyed the temple. Every single time we rebuilt and we reconstructed, yet again, it was destroyed. In the same way, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism continuously spent time in rebuilding, spent time in trying to build up the infrastructure. They would again and again deploy different kinds of attacks, and distract the resources, all of the attention, all the energy, the power, the resources into trying to reconstruct, trying to rebuild the work that he has done already, instead of enriching and expanding. In 2012, we saw another brutal attack against the Adinam, which actually escalated into never before seen acts again that were executed by even state-sponsored elements that was entirely unprecedented and was shocking to the point that they would publicly announce such illegal acts. And foremost was how the CM of Karnataka had announced that they were going to seize the entire Adinam, the Adi Kailasha Sarvignapitam, and they were not. And this was, first of all, an entirely illegal act that they were doing. And after that, they had sealed the entire Adinam, and where even all of the doors and the rooms and everything were locked. The Adinavasis were not able to even do even their basic worship every day, not able to congregate in larger gatherings. And in so many different ways, the state-sponsored elements and the anti-Hindu militant forces had worked together to continue oppressing all of the Kailashians inside of Adi Kailash. And the raids that happened in this time were escalated. So many of the administrators of Adi Kailash were even hospitalized and had to undergo surgical procedures for healing from the attacks. Not only that, we had seen so many different brutal violence executed against the women sannyasis of Adi Kailash. As we see over the years, in 2010, in 2012, in 2014, even 2017, in every single year, some form or another, there have been attacks filed against the Adi Kailasha Sarvagnapeetham. And as you can see here, one of the media personnel, a disguised media personnel, trying to attempt a direct assassination attempt against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in Adi Kailasha Sarvagnapeetham. And immediately after this, after distracting the attention away from the everyone by creating chaos and trying to directly breach the security of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and attempt to eliminate and assassinate him, a huge deploy of an army of people, henchmen, had jumped over the gates and raided the Adinam and literally destroyed so many properties. And after that had ensued a series of attacks against the monastery, against the Adi Kailash Sarvagnapeetham, against the monks, and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism himself. As we can see, in this way, the Adi Kailash Sarvagnapeetham had undergone the worst of the attacks against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. It's the very palace and the very residence of the Supreme Pontiff of himself. And in this way, we have seen how, as an example of all of the heritage destruction that they have done for the last 1,000 years, it has literally escalated and been shown here as an example as what has happened against the Adi Kailasha Sarvagnapeetham. This ultimately is a reason why we really need to share the untold story of the Hindu Holocaust, because continuously these attacks have been happening, as Ma Pranapriya had just shared, even until this year in 2021, a attempt to start bio warfare against the Adi Kailash, the Kailashians in Adi Kailash was deployed against the Adinam. And we have seen so many different attacks like this happen again and again. I request all the viewers, take a few minutes right now and please share the UN report where the UN has finally recognized the persecution against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And with more and more people who are voicing out and sharing this news and sharing the reality of what's happening with Hindus all over the world, we have more and more of a chance to ensure that the Hindu Holocaust finally ends and we revive the ancient Hindu civilization. This brings us to a conclusion of today's segment on the persecution against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Please join us for the subsequent segments as we are observing the Hindu Holocaust Persecution the Hindu Persecution Awareness Month in the month of July. And in the next segments, we'll be continuing to present to you exactly the happenings of everything going on inside of the Adinam and the untold story of the Hindu Holocaust. With this, we'll now move forward with the next segment in today's program, the power manifestation and Kailasa courtyard session. Thank you. We'll now be ending with the Purna Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sarvam Bhagavantam Sri Nityananda Paramashiva Charan Kamalebhyo Namaha. Thank you, Nityanandam.
परमशिवोऽहम् ॐ नित्यानन्द परमशिवो